Well, welcome friends. This episode, we wanted to talk all about generosity and specifically teaching generosity with our kids, which I think is a lifelong process that the earlier you start, the better. And but before we get into that, we want to share a moment of generosity that we did with our kids, and then we can explain kind of our purpose behind it.
Yeah, check this out. This is a lot of fun. Alright, so we're super excited. The Peaches are here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are getting ready to drive around town, and we have $1,000 cash right here. So we went to the bank, we pulled out all $50 bills, and we're gonna see what it feels like to just hand money out to complete strangers and say Merry Christmas. So here we go. So far, we've given out $200. We did $50 to a guy who literally told us, hey, I just got done shooting up heroin. I cannot believe you're giving me 50 bucks. That was kind of crazy. Then we found a lady walking with her daughter, pulled over, said, here's $50. She was like shocked. And then we were driving and we just saw a guy, what do you have, maybe 6 kids with him? And so we gave him 100 because he has 6 kids, and I know that kids are expensive. And he was just completely dumbfounded, like, whoa, you just gave me $100. It's been probably, so far, the best hour of the year so far. So we got more to do though.
Okay, so we did that last year, and it's probably one of the things I will remember for the rest of my life, to see my kids' faces, especially, face to face with other children their same age that live a completely different life than we do, than we've been, blessed with.
I think it was also really important too is, Carter got to see, a homeless person, sitting there, and when we handed that person money, and that person was, very thankful. I think for Carter, he was like, well, I don't understand, where do they sleep at? And I told him they sleep right there, right where we met them. And so that was a big takeaway for him. It was, you could see the wheels starting to move in his head. It went from, hearing about it when we're in church and they do like the Christmas Angel program, hearing about it, to actually visualizing it,
And being immersed in it.
Being immersed. And I think that it did something to his heart. It definitely changed his heart.
Definitely. And the questions, you all know if you have kids, they ask constant questions, which we love, but sometimes it's hard to answer them. And I think it's easier to answer them when they're seeing something face to face, and we can have like a real conversation with them. I know one of the things Kaylee kept asking was, Mama, why does that little girl not have any shoes on in the stroller? And she doesn't have shoes because her mom, can't afford shoes. Like her mom's trying, but she can't afford them. And so we take for granted often. I think we all fall into that trap of obviously how blessed we are with the things that we have, but just the life that we have. And it's so easy to be generous now during the holidays, right? Christmas, your heart changes a little bit. It's a little softer, and you're more have a giving attitude. You're a little more cheerful of a giver. But I think the hardest thing to learn in life and to really to work towards every day is to be generous and have that giving spirit every single day. In the middle of the summer, in the middle of, May, or whatever it might be, that you're still able to kind of harness that feeling of generosity that we have right now, then.
I think for us, one of the things that really started to shift for us is when we truly started to believe that, as Christians, God created everything. Everything in this world was His creation, including you and I, including our money. And I remember that was a big mind shift for me, because the longest time I went to church and I believed and I said I was a Christ follower, but I was a Christ follower up to the point of where it became, it touched my pocketbook, and I'm like, nope, God, I'll take care of that.
Yeah, I can manage it better than you.
You do everything else for me, great, but the money part, I got to handle. I don't need your help. And it was the mind shift where I started to believe that, okay, if He created everything, if He created you for me and me for you and our kids and this house and everything that we have, both good and bad in this world, is a creation of God, that includes the money. And so for us, one of the shifts was when we could teach ourselves and teach our kids that really nothing belongs to us, right? It's on loan from God. And so, one of the things He wants us to do is He's like, we're going to bless you with success and bless you with this money. I want you to be good stewards of it.
Yeah.
And being a good steward of it, this is what we teach our kids all the time, is helping others with that money, right? Money, all it does is it magnifies who you are.
Sure.
Right? So, if you're somebody who's very tight, then when you get more money, you're going to be even tighter.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody that can loosen that grip on that money, right? And especially, like, we weren't necessarily taught that and ingrained in us at a young age, so we want our kids to ingrain that, because I want my kids to be extreme givers, right? And I have yet to meet anybody who is a giver who is unhappy or not fulfilled. I just haven't.
I think you reach ultimate fulfillment and happiness when you're able to give like that, and give without an expectation of anything being returned. But like we say, anything in life, especially with kids, and we're molding them to become great, outstanding humans and on their own one day, is more is caught than taught. So like, we can't just tell them this is how you have to be. We have to show them. So for us, it meant doing those things. And even when we weren't, right where we should be financially, we had to keep trusting that we would give and know that it's all for the better of everyone, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the things that we're always telling our kids is, start thinking about, not so much, at 8 and 6 years old, it's really hard to think outside of myself, right?
Yeah.
It's just natural. It's just natural, like, Christmas is coming around, and, we're making our Christmas list, and we want this, 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 and this, and this. So one of the things, what we showed you in that video, and we're doing every year now, is we want our kids to start thinking on their own of how can we bless others? How can we help others? What can we give to others? Because we know as adults, we love getting stuff, but we also love giving stuff,
Yeah.
right? That is something that I think I learned as an adult. Like, I really like giving. I think it makes us feel good. And I always tell Andrea, because whenever somebody gives her something, she's always like, oh, you didn't have to do that. And I'm like, stop. I'm like, you're taking away the joy of that person giving something to you, right? And so I want our kids to experience joy of giving now at 8 and 6, not at 36.
Exactly. And I think it, like we said, it's a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And I think you get better at giving without an expectation and giving with this full open heart. And it doesn't have to be money. That's the thing is some of you might be watching and saying, well, I don't have that amount of money to just give, right? But we all have something to give, right? You have a talent you can give, you have time you can give. And so we try really hard to teach our kids too. It's not just about the money. You know, it could be as simple as we try to do this every few months, taking inventory of the playroom, of their rooms. They each get a bag. They have to fill the bag with things. And again, you know, after so many things, it's just things. But somebody else would love to have that. Something that they had that they no longer need, but somebody never got that. So we tried to say, hey, think of some things in this room that you just no longer need, but somebody else could love, and fill this bag, and then let's decide who we want to give it to.
Absolutely. And for kids, you got to remember, at 8 and 6 years old, if a kid had a choice between money and toys, it's toys all day long.
Right.
So that is their currency.
Yes, exactly.
So we're teaching them that, you know, if we teach them to give away money now, right, just money, they're not going to really feel that because they're not earning money, right? But what do they earn? They earn, in their mind, payday comes on Christmas and birthdays in the form of toys, right? I mean, we're kids, right? That's what we remember. So when that payday comes in the form of toys, and you can say, okay, you know, even this Christmas, you know, we're very blessed. We have a big family, and we're always like, we always tell the grandparents and stuff, like, what does Carter and Kaylee want? I'm like, they want money in their college fund, right? That's what I say. But like, they want the joy of giving and opening, and I totally understand that. But what we tell our kids is like, look, you guys got so many gifts, and our house is not big enough, right, to fit all these.
House all them.
So what can we do to give some of that away? And that's very similar to the feeling we have is when our money comes in, it's cutting off a chunk of that, saying we'd like to give some of this back to, we call it giving back to God, but maybe it's just giving back to wherever you want to give it back to. And so I think what we're learning is teaching our kids to give up their toys is equivalent to us later in life teaching us to release that grip on money.
And if they are taught this early on at 6 and 8 of opening their hands a little bit, that close, tight grip on their toys or their things, that down the road when they're earning money as an adult, that it's just second nature, right? It's just a way of life. Like, I earn money, and before I can even spend any amount of money, this amount of money is going to be given to whatever cause it is, whether it be tithing, whether it be a organization, whatever you believe in, whatever your look of generosity is, that's relative to you. It will be like, it's just ingrained in you. And I think that's the best, is it's not something forced. It is truly a feeling in your heart that you were just raised up to have.
For the longest time, we've talked about this. We gave out of guilt.
Out of guilt.
I remember before we ever started tithing, you know, we went to a church, what we go to now doesn't do this, but we went to a church and that offering plate would come around, and I'd be sitting there looking down, and I'd see guys handing out their wallet or putting out their wallet, putting 20s or whatever in there. And as of guilt, not as a want, out of guilt, I'm like, well, I'm not going to let this money tray go by.
And they're going to look at me and be like, cheapo.
So out of guilt, I would always throw in money, right? I always throw money. And it was purely out of guilt, and it really took away the joy of giving.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we never knew what the joy of giving was like, because giving out of guilt is a completely different feeling.
Different thing.
So once you train your heart and you train your mind to see things differently, then you realize it's just money, right? It's just money. The feeling of what I got to see that man on the street, you know, and give him $50, and who knows what he's going to do with it. Maybe he went and got a hot meal, maybe whatever.
Or maybe he went and got a bunch of 40s. It doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? It did nothing as far as my bank account, right? It didn't change that at all, but it did everything to my heart that moment. And I think that when your kids see that act over and over again, they are just, again, they're just taught that that's just how it's supposed to be. Right? They see it, they want to feel that, and from when they are 6 and 8 to then when they're 26 and 28, it will be like that's how it always is. That's all they know.
And we've seen it now. We've been doing this, and we're starting to see the results of this.
Yeah.
And a couple things that come to mind is our daughter's 6.
Yeah.
And recently she had a play date, and she had a friend over, and the friend was leaving with some toys. And her dad's looking at her and says, what are these toys? She goes, oh, Kaylee gave them to me. And, you know, Kaylee, thank you, Kaylee, for wanting to give away your toys like that. But her dad's like, no, we're not taking your toys. But it made me feel good that Kaylee loved this toy, but she also wanted her friend to have it. And it wasn't like, give me my toy back. It was like, no, I want you to have it, right? So that made me feel really good.
And I asked her, I remember asking her after, well, why did you give that toy away? And she said about her friend, well, she doesn't have that, and she always wanted it.
Oh, yeah.
And
So to me, that says, okay.
I'm doing something right? Like,
catching
they're
on.
not perfect, not
They
perfect.
still get spankings.
Yeah. And they're still stingy at times too. But you can see that something is sticking. Something is sticking. You know, the ice cream truck comes by just about every day. Why? At 5:30 in the evening? I have no idea. It's dinner time, but it does. And, you know, of course, the kids hear the music, and Carter runs upstairs, and he grabs money, and he grabbed $10. I said, well, I know rates have raised. Just about everything is more expensive, but ice cream for $10? He goes, well, yeah. He's like, I'm going to buy one for Kaylee and for her friend. And I thought, okay, I didn't even argue. If that's what he wanted to spend his money on, did I want them to eat ice cream at 5:30 before dinner? No.
She does all the time.
Hey! But
More is caught than taught.
it was the point that he decided on his own to do that. And so I wasn't going to mess up his flow of generosity that was happening at that very moment, because he felt it. It felt right to him at the moment to do it, and I wanted him to just honor that.
So I think takeaway for today is you don't have to go and give away $500, right?
No.
But maybe there is something that you could sit down with your kids and just have that conversation. Start with a conversation of asking, you know, look how blessed we are. Look at this amazing house we have, our amazing life, you know, and share with them. Is there anything that maybe we love in this house, but somebody else could love and use that we're not using right now? And just taking that first initial step is going to be a huge breakthrough for you, for your family, for your kids. And watch what starts to happen after that. It starts to spiral and get bigger and bigger, like a snowball picks up more snow. It's like one little thing of generosity, and then you have your 8-year-old wanting to buy ice cream for the block, and your daughter sending toys off to her friend's house. But that's special. That's good. That's what we want. We want them to get away from the normalcy of, I hold on
It's
to everything.
mine.
It's
Everything
mine.
is mine.
Yeah.
I bought it with my own money. Nobody gets it. And we're trying to break the normalcy of what society has set. I mean, we do live in a pretty selfish society. Not everybody, but overview of society tends to be like that. And so the goal is to break that in each of our homes, because that's how you change the world and make really good, generous human beings that go off to do really great things when they get older.
It's a daily practice for us.
It
We're not
is.
perfect.
Nope.
We're getting better until we're not perfect. Want to do my teeth?
Oh yeah, all over. God. You're ridiculous. I was like, good thing I'm married to you. Nobody would be. Okay, that's my water bottle too.